Okay, here we are, chapter 3.11, problem solving, adding and subtracting money. I'm going to show you two problems, I think, and I'm going to take one right from the book on page 147. At the end of May, Mrs. Freeman had an account balance of $442.37. Okay, she started with this. She wrote a check for $63.92, and then she made a deposit of $350. She thinks that she has $729.45. Okay, in her account. We have to make a table to determine if she's correct or not. So first of all, this is what she thought she had, so I'm going to write that. Then she wrote a check, so that's taking money out. It's like subtracting money, right? And then she did a deposit, which is like adding money. And then she decided that $429 was her total. This is what she now has in her account. And she wants to find out if it's balanced. She wants to find out if it's true. Okay, or she wants us to find out. And we have to make a table. Now they make a table in your book. And I think we can probably do something similar. Maybe. And it might be that we need to use another page. So I'm not sure how it's going to work if that's what happens. That we've got all right. I'll just put these here. And we'll just kind of use this to fill it in. It's not exactly like what's in the book, but we'll try to make it work. Okay, so this is Mrs. Freeman's checkbook. Oops. Go back to drawing. Checkbook. Alright, so she has a balance, and she's got total over here. This is kind of the total column. And she has $442.37. Alright, so this is her total. And usually they will put deposits. This is deposits in this column, and withdrawals. That's what they call it. And taking money out. So this is like the adding column, and this is like the subtracting column. Oh, that's funny. My bank does it that way. Your book is doing it the other way. So let's back up a little bit. So use money out, subtracting, money in, adding. We'll just call it that. And then the total is over here. Okay. And she wrote a check for $63.92, and we need to find out what happens if we do that. So we're just going to have to do a subtraction problem. $442.37 is what she had. This is her total. She writes a check, which is a minus of $63.92. Okay, so she subtracts $63.92, and she gets, gotta borrow here, gotta borrow again, and then 43 take away 6, we could borrow just to make sure it works, $378.45 if I did it right. And if I want to, I can add backwards to find out if it's right, but we're going to go ahead and try it. So this is the new total, and the book keeps wanting you to make a table. Everything we're doing in this chapter, you pretty much need to make a table for. Okay, so this is kind of like a table. This is a data chart that includes information. Okay, so she took out, then she made a deposit of $350. Oops, that's $3.50. There's $350. All right, 2 zeros. Okay, deposit of $350. So this is an addition problem. We're going to add from our total. Our total is $378.43. And we're going to add 350 to see if we get the same total as what she thinks she got. Not 350.50. There's a mistake I almost made. Thanks for catching me on that. We're adding here. We can see already that she got a different number. 728.43 is what we are getting. And if we did our calculations right, then she definitely didn't get the correct balance, and it appears that that's true from looking at the book. And it wants to know if we have a reasonable answer. I think we do. We at least have it in the ballpark. If we were to start with 440 and add 60, that would be 500. Oh, we're taking away 440, and we subtract 60, that would be 380, and that's close to that. And 380 plus 350 is 730, and that's close to that. So it's a reasonable answer. This is what a chart looks like, or a graphic of some kind that shows, puts our data in a table so you can read it. That's what you're kind of looking for. You're adding and subtracting, and you're using a table to kind of make it look neat or to help you organize your information. I noticed that they do one with money. They talk about buying a bottle of apple juice for $2.30 on page 149. Well, I'm going to give you a different problem because I want you to figure that out on your own, but I'll kind of make up one. Say you want to get a soda, and the soda costs $1.25, and you have plenty of money. But you have to put your money into a machine, which means you have to come up with the exact amount. You can't get change back. And you have to make a decision about how you want to put your money in. So this is your money. You have a $1 bill. A $1 bill, and you have 5 quarters. I'll just put a little Q on them so that you know what they are. And you also have 3 dimes, and you have 2 nickels. Okay, now your instruction is to make a table to find all the different ways that you could feed your money into the machine. The machine takes dollars, quarters, dimes, and nickels. So you can put any of those in the machine. You've got $1.25. Now there's some real obvious ways, and there's some maybe not so obvious ways, but it's important to, if you're making a table, is to be very orderly. You've got to do things in order. Let's start with a square like this. And I don't know how big it needs to be. Let's make it that big. Okay. So, and then I'm going to make some lines. And right up here, we're going to start with we're going to start with our $1, and then we're going to have our quarters. Ooh, I thought I was here. I wasn't. Here we go. Quarters, and then our dimes, and then our nickels. And you may be able to tell why I started with $1 and went to quarters, and then went to dimes, and then went to nickels. I'm trying to be orderly, so I'm going from largest to smallest, and in value, not in size, because obviously a dime is smaller than a nickel. Dollar, quarter, dime, nickel. Okay, and then of course we know that a dollar is like 100 pennies, and a quarter is like 25 pennies, a dime is 10, and a nickel is 5. And with $1.25, we're really looking for 125 pennies. Okay, 125 is what we're looking for. So we got to add up to that each time. And I don't know how many lines this chart we're going to fill because I haven't done this problem before. I sort of just made it up on the spot. And hopefully I've left myself enough room. You might have to do this on your own paper to solve some of these problems, or in the book. They're not giving you a graph, but I'm kind of showing you what to do when you're working it out. And to be organized, you have to start. You don't have to, but I like to start with the biggest and work my way down. So using the largest first, so I would be able to use $1 and 1/4, and that would equal $1.25. Correct? All right. So that's the only way I can use $1. Or are there other ways I can use $1, which is the biggest? So I want to focus on my dollars first. There is another way I can use $1. So I could use $1, 0 quarters, kind of like that to show for 0. And I could use 2 dimes and 1 nickel, and that would equal $1.25. Is there any other way to use $1? Actually, there are. I've already used my quarter. Could I do it with 1 dime? No, I cannot. Because if I put 1 dime in, I'd have to have 3 nickels. So $1, 10 cents, 15, 20, 25. I'd have to have 3 nickels. And I don't. I only have 2 nickels. So I actually can't do it that way. And I don't have 3 nickels. I don't have 5 nickels. I've got 3 dimes, but I can't give them 30 cents. I have to come out exact. That was kind of the rule. Exactly $1.25. So I'm going to have to erase that. That is not going to work. I can't do any other ways to use $1. Sometimes you find out as you move through. Okay, so that means I'm not going to use $1 anymore. I've done all the ways I can to use $1, hopefully. Maybe I missed one and you guys will catch me tomorrow, but I think I did. So now, what about quarters? So I'm going to start with my biggest amount of quarters, which would be 5. I can actually put 5 quarters in, and that equals $1.25. Okay, cool. All right. What about 4 quarters? That's my $1 again. And then I could use 2 dimes and a nickel like I did up here to get $1.25. Now I couldn't use another quarter because I've already done the 5 quarters, so 4 quarters. Could I use 3 quarters? Let's just try it. 75 cents. If I used all of my dimes, 75 plus 3 dimes, 85, 95, 105, and I only have 2 nickels. So 2 nickels would get me not quite, that would get me to 115, which is not enough. So that definitely doesn't work. Back out of that one too. So I couldn't use 2 quarters either. So it looks to me like I'm done with quarters. Is there any way I could do it with, no. So there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 ways. There are 4 total ways using $1, 5 quarters, 3 dimes, and 2 nickels to buy a soda with exactly $1.25. That's saying getting no change back, having an exact amount. Okay, so that's kind of fun. That's how you do that. A couple other problems that are like that in the lesson. The neat thing about the story problem, whenever they have a story problem lesson, there's only maybe 12 questions. It's not very many questions. They're a little harder. But they're like this. You have to add, subtract, or you have to come up with charts. No big deal. Okay, so you guys were wondering, and several of you asked me, what happened with my canoe? And I have to tell you truthfully that I did go off the waterfall. Yeah, it was scary, but I went off the waterfall, and I was lucky. Because whenever I go in a canoe, okay, I take all the things that I might need. And one of the things that I sometimes need, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I don't want to tell you before I get ready to draw it. one of the things that I sometimes need, and I want you to know that I was not exactly happy. I was more nervous. I don't know if that looks nervous or not. It's supposed to. Okay, I was a little nervous, and here's why: is because I was clinching very tightly to a couple of straps, and the straps went up in the air, and they connected to a ring that connected to, yeah, you guessed it, a parachute. And I was hanging on for all I was worth, and I was kicking my feet like crazy. It's almost like it almost was like I had 4 pair of feet or something like that, because my legs were going super fast, and I was kind of nervous as I was falling through the air. And I know you're wondering what my parachute looks like, and so I have to tell you the other kind of interesting thing that happened is there was this. I not only do I come prepared, but I don't want to lose anything, including my canoe. And so I had it outfitted with a pretty little parachute as well. And it had all these patterns and colorful things on it. And it floated down to the ground at the bottom of the cliff where the waterfall landed. And it landed right next to the river. And so I was safe, and my canoe was safe. Now, I spent a lot of time carrying the canoe back up to the lake. I think it took me pretty much the rest of the day. But I was happy to be back, and my family was wondering where I was, and they were glad to see me. All right, that's the end of that story.